edition for March 9th, day before my birthday, uh, 2026. Coming at you with Concave Earth and the title Bout, and trying some new gear here. Not gear, but a new workflow. So bear with us. Hopefully, everything will be fine and hunky dory. But it is new. Everything seems to be working. So,
Does it have the
anyway.
touch up your appearance thing or
I don't have the touch up your appearance thing on, but we're back to
no, do
like,
I does it have the capability? Can I touch up my appearance here? Can I get rid of my
don't touch
zitty forehead or
don't touch up your appearance. You don't do that. But I mean, it's kind of like back to basics in some way. We never used Riverside before, which we are, so the audio
well,
should get
I
better.
think we tried it before, right? We must have tried it.
I
Or did
don't
we
think
was that just on other people's shows or
other people's shows it must have been.
so
And then we're back on Restream. We're using Restream to do some stuff. Uh, so yeah. I mean, we had to jump through all these hoops. So it's weird. We had more services. It's still cheaper than StreamYard is, even before they raised the price. And then the price is going up to $400 US a month.
I mean, well, this is not sustainable. Like, I don't know how much they think like all these streamers are making, but I mean, we can't afford to absorb a $400 a month bill. I mean, that's ridiculous. So,
Uh,
anyways, plus this is better because we can talk over each other, and I think we can hear us both. Like in StreamYard, it would cut us off. So, like if Darren was talking at the same time as a clip, or if I'm overriding a clip, you can't hear it. Just can't hear anything.
very sensitive to that sort of thing. So we think we got that sorted out. It also gives us like local recordings for guests when they have bad audio, so we can still get those. And I think it'll get us hopefully maybe a little clearer on some of the shorts that are going around where Graham's face is zoomed. One of the comments I laughed at was like, but he's like, I can still see another pixel. Zoom in a little bit more. I don't want to spit out my coffee.
Yeah, it's kind of weird having the shorts out there. We've kind of we neither of us really care to be having our faces everywhere. Like I really don't like it, but I figure like we're putting out this content anyways. We might as well just put out the shorts and just be cool with it. I guess I'm trying to get over my shyness or my insecurities, whatever that is. So do you are you restreaming now? Do you need a hand with anything
I
before we
think
jump
we're good.
into it
I
or
think it's working. I
all
mean,
right?
I don't know for sure. I think it's working though. So we'll see how it goes. We will see how it goes. Hopefully the videos will be better and all that stuff will be good. But do you want me to start off? Do you want to guess?
Sure.
I mean, my title is obviously pretty easy to guess, right?
No, is it about your new map or
I don't want to talk about that right now.
okay, okay, well, concave, I don't know, what is it about then? Concave Earth, I mean, is it what I don't what's it called? See, it should have the title of your stream on here
It
somewhere.
is, but I can't see it because it's out. It's concave Earth, and yours is it's concave Earth, and yours is the title bout.
Yeah. So what's concave Earth then? I don't I mean, I don't really get it.
Well, we'll get to it later. I guess I
Oh,
thought you were gonna.
okay.
I have no idea what yours is.
You don't?
The
Yes, you
title
do.
bout, unless it's just about the war.
No, I mean, I even told you what it was about because I said this BC stuff has to be talked about, like, I had to
Oh, that yeah, I didn't
so
put
it's
two
that
and two
kinda
together.
title, like the land title bout. It's a play on the phrase title bout, right? It's a title bout, but it's, you know,
It's a big old distraction. It's a
it's
trick to get those Indians to sign on to the
it's an
Indian so that and then they're
it's a
like, "Oh,
First
by the way, you don't
Nations.
get shit."
I saw a clip of this lady, in a conference. I think it was must have been at one of the Alberta First one, and she's like, "I'm a yeah, I'm an Indian." I can't remember what she said, but they've called me 4 things, and they never once asked me what I wanted to be called. Like, at first, we were First Nations, and then we were Indigenous, and then we were what's the other one again?
Aboriginal
Aboriginals.
and Native was in there too. I think Aboriginal was before Native.
I think so, yeah.
Alright, should we start the show? Get the
Yeah,
show
let's do
going?
it. What do you mean start
Do
the show?
oh,
Aren't we
before
going
we oh,
already, or
we should I mean, actually start the show. Before we do get going, we should mention that you can subscribe if you're doing the Apple Podcast app. Sorry, pardon me. You can now subscribe and get the content, the bonus content directly through your Apple Podcast playing app. So if like the website was too much to figure out before, that's another way to sign up for Plus now, right there in your Apple Podcast player. And I think if you're using pretty much everywhere else, you can also get the bonus material on Spotify through Patreon. I think you have to go to the Patreon site to do that, but I'm not sure exactly how that works. But I know that people do it. I know that there are people doing it. So on that note, we should get into it. I got this one here. Richard Nixon. What do you think this one's about?
Watergate?
Nope. His phone call to the moon.
Oh, okay. Good.
How did President Nixon call the moon on a landline in 1969? Let's break down exactly how NASA says it worked. NASA's official explanation. NASA says Nixon's call to the Apollo 11 astronauts was a standard telephone call, but it was relayed through an advanced communication system. Here's how it supposedly worked. Nixon used a regular landline at the White House. The call was routed through NASA's Mission Control in Houston. Houston then transmitted Nixon's voice to the Goldstone Deep Space Communications Complex in California, which had an 85-foot radio antenna. The signal was beamed 239,000 miles to the moon, where the lunar module's VHF radio picked it up. Armstrong and Aldrin responded, and their voices were sent back to Earth the same way. Sounds simple, right? But here's why it shouldn't have worked. The problems with the moon phone call. 1. The missing signal delay. The moon is 239,000 miles away, and radio signals take 1.3 seconds one way, meaning Nixon's call should have had at least a 2.6-second delay in responses. Yet, in the broadcast, Armstrong and Aldrin respond instantly, faster than even 1960s transatlantic calls. Even if Mission Control relayed the call instantly, you'd still hear the delay in the astronauts' responses, but there's barely any. 2. The weak lunar transmitter. The lunar module's radio had only 12 watts of power, about the strength of a household Wi-Fi router. Transmitting a clear, two-way conversation across 239,000 miles with such low power? Highly unlikely. NASA's Deep Space Network needed massive radio dishes just to pick up Apollo signals, yet Nixon's voice came through crystal clear? 3. Earth's 1969 communication limitations. Long-distance calls in 1969 were unreliable. They had static, dropouts, and delays even across the US. Transatlantic calls required undersea cables or early satellites, which still had long pauses and interference. But somehow, Nixon's call to space, an even greater distance, worked perfectly with no issues. Before, radio interference and ionosphere distortion signals from the moon had to pass through Earth's ionosphere, which causes distortion and signal loss. But Nixon's call had no static or interference. Solar radiation and cosmic noise should have affected the transmission, yet the audio is flawless. Number 5. A perfect two-way conversation. The Apollo system supposedly allowed full duplex communication, meaning both parties could talk at the same time, like a modern cell phone. But even military radios in 1969 often used push-to-talk half duplex, meaning only one person could speak at a time. Somehow, Nixon's call functioned like a perfect two-way conversation, despite the extreme distance and limitations of 1960s tech. So, could Nixon really have called the moon?
Or maybe it was just calling to Arizona, just down the road to Arizona.
Arizona, you don't think like Greenland or something?
No. I think the sites that they were doing all the filming was in Arizona, wasn't it? That's what
I
weird
don't know. It
things.
sounds like you're more into the moon conspiracy
No.
thing than I am.
I don't know about that. I don't like the AI voice on those clips. It's like
No,
it
it
makes
tricks
you
you for
think.
a while sometimes too.
Then
I'm
it
like,
makes you think the whole thing's just done by AI and nobody's even put it together.
could be it's just taking over. It's taking over it's
It's
taking over.
taken over. It really is. I'm not trying to resist it. It still annoys me when it's not a human speaking. I feel
Resist
skeptical.
resist we much.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Mm.
I've got a whole bunch of stuff on like this missing UFO guy and
Oh, let's do it.
like, do you want to do the whole
Yeah,
UFO thing?
let's get into it.
This ends up being a little bit long of a segment potentially because of yeah, I've been saving this stuff up, but it all kind of fits together nicely. So let's see what let's start with let's start with Weinstein.
Was this Weinstein and Buddy?
And
Weinstein?
on Piers, yeah, Weinstein on Piers.
He somehow knew that my work, which technically would have been about something called self-dual Yang-Mills equations, was actually about gravity. He was very focused on gravity, and which this is going to come up in the UFO disclosures, which is that the UFO weirdness is not just about UFOs. It's about the golden age of general relativity and US attempts to gain control over additional forces of nature. Therefore,
So why do you think he would use golden age there? That's kind of weird, eh?
That is kind of weird.
I think this is a new one, but I mean, maybe this is going back to his original, because he was on Piers not too long ago when he called Epstein a construct. I think this is a different interview, though. Anyways, let's finish it off here.
4 forces of nature. We know how to control 2 of them somewhat, the strong force and the electromagnetic force. The strong force is what we got control of in 1945 and took out 2 cities in Japan. So what happens when you can control gravity? This is absolutely national interest. The national security apparatus has completely fallen down on the job. Nobody's picked up on what kind of a spy he was. And the idea that this is some sort of auxiliary thing that he was doing with respect to science, when the main story is just about the sexual misdeeds, this is not true. I mean, his operation, I think in part, was about spying on scientists.
Dude, our little theory about what Epstein was doing with the science and the dad, the Pergamon Press and all that, and the textbooks and the scientific, dude, it's feeling like we're right about this stuff. Okay, here, I'm going to play another clip here. Do I share this tab instead?
Donald Trump has now said he will release all the classified files on UFOs and aliens. And you posted after that, an enormous secret is buried here. I have failed to guess it year after year. What did you mean by that?
We have a puzzle that I can't solve. There is more accumulated anecdotal, circumstantial, and sporadic evidence of an enormous program about UFOs than I know how to dismiss. I've talked to people who have strikingly similar firsthand accounts of bizarre behavior, either in terms of objects in the skies or the seas, or seeming US government employees with no insignia and no identification behaving in bizarre ways. I can't explain the amount of firsthand claims from non-actors delivered with perfect sincerity that would make Hollywood blush.
Isn't it cool after years and years talking about this? And this is like what we were saying. Like, you can't just ignore all the anecdotal evidence. Like, absence of evidence isn't evidence of absence, or whatever the hell that saying
Blah,
is.
blah, blah. Can I play my Weinstein clip?
No, I'm still going. I got a whole thing.
I have
here.
another one that will complement your segment whenever you want.
Okay, let's just see. Maybe it's the end of this clip. Let's just keep going here for a second.
If there isn't a reality behind it. Now, sometimes we get a look at that. For example, there's a private Air Force that seems to come down from the skies, destroy equipment.
Isn't it weird that this Jew is everywhere about everything for the last 5 or 10 years? Isn't that weird? Just saying.
I know, it's exciting. I mean, I don't care if he's a spook or not. It's exciting because
super Jew spook.
We just wanted it to come out. I mean, I don't care. What?
I'm the COVID guy. I'm the math whiz guy. I'm the debunk Terrence Howard guy.
He wasn't. He wasn't the COVID guy, was he? That was more of his brother.
He also was. Well, I think he was in on it too. You know, he's like, I don't know. I can't decide if he's a spook or if he's just like tumbling down the rabbit hole.
Of people observing UFOs that I think turned out to be the CIA's Office of Global Access. I wasn't smart enough to figure out how you could hide an Air Force inside of the United States from
pretty good fake humility there, though.
From a breakaway society, but I think it was just the CIA. So,
but I mean, he's even talking about breakaway societies.
You know, that was bad for me. I didn't get that right. I think what you're seeing is that there's probably a very long-standing program, particularly involving physics, and particularly involving aerospace companies, not as aerospace as we know it, but as shells in which you can put very sensitive stuff that could be FOIA'd if it was found inside of government. I don't know what's in that structure. I think Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is going to be very important. There's a site in Indiana, several in New Mexico. My guess is that you're going to find out that a lot of these stories, just take New Mexico. New Mexico is going to be the hub that connects atomic weapons, UFOs, and Jeffrey Epstein. And they're all going to merge into one story about power that we don't understand, human power.
I gotta just rewind that. Is he talking about the? I wonder if this is all the labs that are funded by the DOE.
Is going to be the hub that connects atomic weapons, UFOs, and Jeffrey Epstein. And they're all going to merge into one story about power that we don't understand. Human power is going to be centered in a state that we barely ever talk about. And including Bill Richardson at the Department of Energy, which of course is really the custodian of physics and our nuclear weapons that Jimmy Carter converted from the AEC, where atomic energy was the cover story for atomic weapons. So we went from atomic weapons to atomic energy to just energy. And now we sound like Bill Richardson went there to be the head of oil and gas. So I think that you're going to find out that New Mexico is going to be the hub that connects all these stories.
Oh yeah, the DOE. I mean, it's not even about energy. When you look at all the labs and what they're working on, and they're all funded by the DOE. Holy! All right. So do you want to go ahead then and compliment that?
Let's see if it compliments or not, or if it just ruins it. Whoops. It's not supposed to happen like that.
I think we clicked it at the same time, if that means anything.
So you're going to create a wormhole on demand?
You should be able to. That's what my...
Who's this other guy? I feel like you know him.
It's Eric Davis, I think.
This guy on this side?
Yeah, I think so.
This is... Did you get two bigger dorks in a room?
These guys, there's a bunch of memes going around, and they've even made these short movies out of it. That Tupac Opera made the little short AI movie about the four guys talking about wormholes and all that. He's one of the famous, like, I don't know if he's an astrophysicist or physicist or quantum physicist or whatever, but yeah. He'll come up again, I think.
So you're going to create a wormhole on demand?
You should be able to. That's what my research showed.
So walk me through, how do I get to Alpha Centauri by engineering a traversable wormhole?
Well, you're going to create...
Eric Davis, you're kind of synonymous with UFO science. You have an amazing background at Aerospace Corporation, Earth Tech, worked with NASA Lewis. Eric Weinstein, you are a math PhD from Harvard, who has dared to present a theory of everything in physics.
The alleged Roswell crash was real. There was a there. It really happened.
How is it possible that something this large that involves this many people has zero incontrovertible pieces of evidence?
Do you dispute the existence of atomic weapons because you can't access it?
I can't access it.
Oh, you can access it.
I have no idea what we just did.
It is a crash retrieval, 9 human intelligence, 9 human technology.
How many of those crash retrieval program people have you met?
I think it's 5 total. And there's no physics in it.
It doesn't make any sense.
Say again?
It defies the laws of physics. We haven't made progress. We have no physicists. How are they doing on this project decades in?
This thing is not a Manhattan Project, and you know what the Manhattan Project was.
Not one of these proposals excites me. They're boring as sin. I don't like GR.
I know, it seems...
Why are you not tweaking it?
I'm...
Stop clip.
I'm getting... I don't know if it's the way it's edited, but it's seeming very scripted and fake, to be honest with you. What's going on? Is it the way they've edited or what?
This is the thing I get from Weinstein. Like, you can just jump into different roles too. It's like, oh, I am the UFO guy. Now I'm the UFO debunker because you're doing it wrong.
Now I'm the wormhole debunker, and I'm the...
Don't have
hang on
intuition.
Hang on. I think Eric Davis might be the guy that wrote the book that Hillary Clinton had in her hand when she was at the Rockefeller Ranch with somebody. And Greer used to talk about all the time. There's a famous picture. Anyways,
What was it called?
the book had something to do with the cosmos or alone, or are we alone? Maybe called that or something like that. I think it'll come up in my segment later.
Do I keep going or stop it?
Yeah, keep going.
On how I could tweak it.
I mean, it's like the highlight reel, so it is edited to get you to kind of want to watch it. But
I do want to watch it, Ali. That's working.
Gives you like heavy Terrence Howard fucking Jared Weinstein vibe.
Are there propulsion modalities that...
Like, this guy's making too much sense. We got to get Weinstein in here to debunk him.
your high conviction and that transcend chemical combustion.
Yeah, it goes way beyond even advanced.
It's interesting because his brother's tumbling down the cataclysm wormhole right now. So it's going to be interesting to see what he's going to do about that. Is he going to debunk that, or what's he going to do?
Are you aware of reports that we are being
Monitored?
made to know that we do not control our space?
Yes.
When you see smoke at this level, the question is, what is the nature of the fire? There
That's
are
right.
different fires.
But there is
or
a
there's a
fire.
smoke machine.
Or there's a smoke machine.
Right. Epstein was running many different programs. It wasn't even Epstein probably running. Look, I believe we can leave. And if you believe you can leave, you have to imagine that you're being visited.
Ignition sequence start.
Do you think that's a sleight of hand? Do you think that's
No, I like that.
because
What?
this guy says he sees the nukes and everything. He's got the clearance for that. That's what he alluded to anyway.
Well, no, just Manhattan Project, not maybe not modern nuclear stuff, but at least the Manhattan files.
Yeah. Maybe.
But I like that. If you think you're gonna leave, then you must assume you've been visited or whatever his quote was. That's pretty cool.
How is this possible? Nothing to it.
I don't think there's anything intelligent left.
Okay, so let me finish this off here then. This is gonna blow you away. So this was a comment actually just right after that clip I played, and it's from Clauslop here. He says, imagine a 200-mile radius centered on the Zorro Ranch. Because you know who stopped the investigation on Zorro Ranch, right? Do you know?
No.
Comey's daughter.
Comey's daughter.
Yeah. The judge or whatever she is, she stopped the investigation. This region is one of the most densely concentrated areas for U.S. military nuclear research, UAP black sites, and federal land management in the country. We hear nonstop slop about the island. We hear nothing about the 8,000-acre ranch with 33,000 square foot mansion, airstrip, guest houses, etc., located in the epicenter of the most densely concentrated area for U.S. military nuclear research and federal land management. That is pretty fascinating. The master of riddles here. He's very good at analogies and confusion, but has anyone ever walked away from anything this guy says knowing something new or being informed? No, it's not a hard problem to solve. Israel has been blackmailing elite politicians in the West with the help of Jews in power in those nations. This guy works for Peter Thiel or D. All right. Anyways, so that's been played. So here's kind of
Weinstein clip.
Okay. Well, here's another weird. So this is a weird one. What is happening to our space scientists? This is from Red Panda Koala. MIT plasma physicist murdered. Remember that? Caltech astrophysicist murdered. Retired Air Force Major General associated with UFO programs vanishes all within weeks of each other. I mean, I don't know if I'd say weeks. That's pretty weak. I'd say months. So where do I go next? I want to talk about this guy that's missing. So let's start with a clip and then I'll read some stuff later. But that you could make an argument that if the deep state knows, let's say the deep state is like the whole Epstein thing and the people that have been taking over the West, if they know that their game is up, they're going to start offing some of these scientists that have the knowledge about disclosure of UFOs and high technologies and stuff like that, right? I mean, it could. I mean, I guess you could also say that the Trump deep state is also maybe somehow talking good about this stuff, but then offing people in the background too. I don't know. It doesn't make as much sense to me. But here's Ross Coulthard again talking about this guy.
If anyone knows the darkest secrets of the UAP legacy program, it is General Neil McCasland, Major General Neil McCasland. This guy is, honestly, he is one of the most important people in the US military establishment in terms of secret stealth programs. I was just going through it. He's held senior roles overseeing classified space weapons, advanced aerospace research programs, and he's basically most recently, he served as the head of research at the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which of course is notorious in UFO lore because that is where the alleged Roswell crash remnants, the remnants from the crash of two.
Maybe they're getting rid of all these guys so that the Jew can be the expert.
Two UFOs that collided were taken in 1947. He was also the commander of the Air Force Research Laboratory. He was the
Unless they're Jews too.
Director of Special Programs in the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense. He was the Director of Space Acquisition, Office of the Undersecretary of the Air Force. He has served, Major General Neil McCasland has served at the very highest levels of the US military, the US Air Force.
All right, so that's a good backgrounder to play here. That was Dom Luker though playing this guy's clip, Ross's clip. So let me see where I want to go here. So let's go to Eric Burleson here, just quickly.
Someone from that had experience in special forces and the intelligence community. I was running by the list with them, and they said you need to take those two names off your list and never talk about those two people ever again. If you and they said they would have no problem having you killed.
So there's Leslie Kane, one of our past guests, and James Fox, one of the best UFO documentarians. And he says he was warned by someone with special forces and intel community experience that he may be killed for pursuing the truth about this. So it's pretty fascinating. Here, House Oversight and House Intel Committee members have sent a letter to Rubio, Hegseth, Gabbard, and DOE for UFO files. Burleson says the letter signed by Luna, Burchett, Mace, Carson, Crane, Perry, and Subramaniam requests access to specific files and metadata. That's pretty interesting. So I've got a couple ways that this connects with like Podesta and Q and possibly Epstein as well. So let's go to John Greenwald here. Do you remember we talked about his black vault here? We all know that the UAP task force purpose was to investigate UAPs. At least that's what the government told us. But evidence shows that within this secret charter for the task force creation, the background and the majority of the focus areas of the study were entirely classified. If we, the people, were told what this task force was all about, why is the evidence that should simply explain the same thing entirely hidden from you? Look at the redactions in this. This is the charter for UAP task force.
I got some with more redactions to show you in the second half.
And then let's see here. Share this tab instead. So the Air Force Major General, this is from Red Panda again here, that vanished last week, may have believed Iran was under the influence of aliens. Darren, did you get that? He was missing last week. There's a WikiLeaks Podesta email that states McCaslin was DeLong's advisor for UFO disclosure and helped assemble the TTSA team. I want to go over that with you later. DeLong's advisors told him Iran, China, and North Korea also had UFO crashes and were being manipulated by the others. DeLong's advisors say the others are a hive mind, don't have souls, worship their own technology, and feed off negativity. DeLong's advisors say the UFO phenomena are the old gods fighting amongst themselves and factionalizing mankind by instigating wars.
Ooh.
There you go. So this is getting into Ashton Forbes here. This is getting really weird. So it has come to my attention that TMB spaceships could be missing General William McCaslin. So that's could be. So he's saying this account could be. You know what? Let me just go. Where's the rest of Ashton's stuff here? I think I'm missing one. Okay. Let me finish off that. So he says, normally I would not entertain such speculation, but he stopped posting the day McCaslin disappeared. I've always wondered who this user is. His profile lists his experience as being nearly identical to McCaslin. There must be some way to confirm whether or not it's him. he sent me a really specific DM last year about sending a letter to Gabbard regarding Gorgon Stare MH370. So this is about like Ashton Forbes' whole theory about the plane, right? So here's a screenshot of this is the guy, Electric Propulsive Spacecraft Systems. Retired 38-year active duty USAF PhD engineer.
Is he missing too?
No, he thinks that's the account, the stealth or the AKA of McCaslin. Like this is the account McCaslin uses instead of calling himself. So this is this guy DMing him. He says, I suggest writing a letter to DNI Tulsi Gabbard, make letter structured, first paragraph, background on disappearance of MH370, name the DNI owned systems by technical name, ask her to task DNI IG to research who is doing a cover-up and where the plane went to, what was the operation objective, and why did they kill everybody. Second paragraph, name the DNI systems that were watching the plane at the time. The third paragraph, tell her you have been confidentially asked to write this letter from an individual on her side of the classification system. I cannot speak at this time as that is an operational program that I cannot speak to that. Take care and you'll prove the naysayer wrong. It's obvious to me Ross's words came down from the top. This indicates an opportunity. There are stupid people running the PSYOP. You may not get a good response out of the letter at first, but wait, things are buzzing at DOE. There's the DOE again, right? I mean, this is like crazy. So here's Greenwald again about the Black Vault, about McCaslin's wife, Susan McCaslin, posted this message about Neil today on Facebook. So this is going back now to March 6th. So this would be 3 days ago, but I think this was even a few days old. But he is still missing. And towards the end, she makes what I assume is a joke about the best hypothesis being that aliens beamed him up to a mothership. So isn't that weird, eh? So let me I'll click on this graphic here, and I'll skip through the whole, like she's saying he's now been missing for 1 week. There's been no indication whatsoever where he might be. There have been dozens of searchers on foot, both officials and friends and neighbors of Neil's who coordinate with the official sources. I think he was hiking or something like that. They've also been horseback searchers, drones with different capabilities, helicopters, 3 different types of search dogs, neighborhood canvassing, and looking for ring or wildlife videos. Organizations involved, blah, blah, blah. Take this opportunity to dispel some of the misinformation circulating about Neil and his disappearance, mostly from uninformed media sources. The initial silver alert from BCSO mentioned medical conditions, which some have taken to mean Alzheimer's. Neil is at some risk, but not from dementia. He was not confused and disorientated. No, there was no concerning Friday morning telephone call to a close relative. It is true that when Neil was in the Air Force, he had access to some highly classified programs and information. He retired from the Air Force almost 13 years ago. So this also reminds me of like Air Force versus Navy type stuff. It is true he had a brief association with the UFO community through Tom DeLonge, former frontman for Blink-182 and founder of the organization To the Stars. So I'm just going to skip ahead here a little bit. Neil does not have any special knowledge about the ET bodies and debris from the Roswell crash stored at Wright Pat. Though at this point, with absolutely no sign of him, maybe the best hypothesis is that aliens beamed him up to the mothership. However, no sightings of a mothership hovered above the Sandia Mountains have been reported. Wow. Must be near Sandia Labs. So this is Jay Anderson here. This is where it gets a little bit, I don't think it's about him though. Let me just confirm something. I just want to make sure I wrap up anything with that guy. Okay, here's this. This is from Astral, the leaked email of Tom DeLonge. So this is where Podesta gets involved too. Tom DeLonge telling Podesta that Roswell crash wreckage was set to Wright Pat Air Force Base and that Neil McCaslin knew about it and helped assemble his advisory team. So that's when Podesta was also in that whole email controversy in 2016 with Hillary and all that. I don't think I need to read that whole thing. Actually, should I, or?
Might as well.
He mentioned he's a skeptic. He's not. I've been working with him for 4 months. I just got done giving him a 4-hour presentation on the entire subject a few weeks ago. Trust me, the advice has already been happening on how to do all this. He just had to say that out loud, but he is very, very aware as he was in charge of all this stuff. When Roswell crashed, they shipped it to the lab at Wright Pat. General McCaslin was in charge of that exact laboratory up to a couple years ago. He not only knows what I'm trying to achieve, he helped assemble my advisory team. He's a very important man. Best, Tom DeLong. And then Jay Anderson is also says, yes, and NASA astronauts who walked on the moon, Edgar Mitchell, was getting his staff to send emails to Podesta encouraging him to bring the following issues to the Obama administration. Alien disclosure, 0 point energy, non-violent / violent ETs. This is to Podesta from Terra Billionaires. Dear John, because the Warren space race is heating up, I felt you should be aware of several factors as you and I schedule our Skype talk. Remember, our non-violent ETI from the contiguous universe are helping us bring 0 point energy to Earth. This is back in 2015, dude. They will not
years ago.
They will not tolerate any forms of military violence on Earth or in space. Oh, here's the pic that I was telling you about. The Clinton cabal was working to manipulate. This is from Jordan. Say their half-truth UFO disclosure since the early 90s. That's the Rockefeller Initiative. That's the pic with Hillary and her. And Podesta, John Pizzagate, notorious pedophile Podesta. So yeah, what else do I got here? I think that's about it.
Well, I'll bookend that with some more Weinstein. Some more Weinstein. Oh, it did it again. There we go. That's weird.
Dr. Davis, you should push back if you think traversable wormholes that biological material can go through is a real feasible thing.
You mean biological materials going through a wormhole?
Yeah.
I don't see anything that prevents it.
Okay.
So you're going to create a wormhole on demand to get where you need to go?
You should be able to. That's what my research showed. There's nothing that I would think that could stop you other than that G over C to the fourth power issue. That really gets inverted when you put it over to the curvature side of the equation.
All right.
Then the properties of the matter, it's going to be C to the fourth over G. So it's going to be a gigantic number multiplying the curvature of space-time that matter source creates.
So walk me through, how do I get to Alpha Centauri by engineering a traversable wormhole?
Well, you're going to create the mouth or the throat. Well, that's a good point, because even Kip Thorne couldn't describe it. But the best idea is, and this is Thorne's idea, not mine, and I don't endorse it. You create a mouth right at your departure point in space, and you're going to need another spaceship to carry the throat to the destination point. And that's what Kip Thorne came up with. I'm thinking when you're creating the throat, that's where all the physics occurs anyway. It's not at the mouth, the exit entrance mouth, it's in the throat. So when you're creating that throat, that should automatically do the connection, the hyperspace tunnel connection between two distant points, Earth and Sirius, or our star Sol and Sirius as examples, or Earth and Alpha Centauri, one of the planets over there. I just know.
Is it just me, or did he just kind of gloss over all of that? You just got the throat. You just throw it over.
That it does not give you a recipe for navigating, for being able to target your destination. There are no navigational control laws built into general relativity. All you could do is build the wormhole, and you could do the studies of a geodesic that goes through it, representing either a photon or a piece of matter, and you can represent that. It's going to come out the other side. But how you aim it and navigate to another star using it, that's not in general relativity. You can't.
Resonance. I mean, that's got to be where the sort of the spiritual physics and resonance and all that comes in.
It just automatically knows where to go.
Well, if you have the same resonant frequency as wherever you want to go, then that's how
you can get that.
That's how entanglement happens, right? What?
And you shouldn't be ruled by the speed of light. because it's
No.
entanglement.
Exactly.
That information out, unless there's more work that needs to be done that nobody has thought of doing.
Nobody's thought of doing it. Shame, really. I thought I actually had a. Well, I think we already played the clip where Buddy calls into the Art Bell show
Yeah.
and talks about the Area 51, and he starts crying.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't mean for it to be that clip, and something happened, and the one that I was trying to get, it seemed to have shared the wrong one, but Buddy posts so much, it's almost impossible to find the fucking thing now. So
Who's that?
Open-minded approach.
Oh, yeah. I knew you were gonna catch that clip. I saw it today.
I can't find it now.
Yeah. I didn't save it.
Oh, here it is. I found it. Look at that. It's short, but as long as we're talking about Tom Longdong, might as well throw it out there. Let's see how this one shares. There we go. Joe Rogan. Look, he's all zoomed in too. You guys look the same. We could do a side by side.
And there's Tom DeLonge.
I've had Tom DeLonge.
Yeah, you've had him on.
I thought he was crazy when I had him on before, and now I'm like, damn, I think he might be onto something.
I've seen the little aliens with the big black eyes. Those are androids. They're biological robots. They're just programmed. There's no different than us cloning sheep. There's a very advanced group that left after a catastrophe and hung around in a small outpost here, and throughout time would push civilization forward, and that's who the Greek gods were.
Whoa.
Roswell wreckage, there's Greek writing.
Is there?
There is.
I've never seen any of the wreckage from.
Is that true, Graham?
The old gods are coming back. Yeah, that's what they say.
No, that there's Greek writing on the.
I don't know about that.
No,
I cannot confirm. I haven't seen the wreckage either, and I've never heard that there's Greek writing on there. I've heard there was writing that people didn't know what it was.
Well, you'd think they would have known what the Greek writing is.
Yeah.
I think that's about all I've got on UFOs. I do have a kind of long clip. We could stop whenever about you are a mushroom having a human experience.
Sure. I've got just, I wanted to do that, the BC
We
First
could probably
Nation.
end with that and do some other stuff first.
Okay.
If we could do some Canada stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I got the BC First Nations thing here, so let me just do that.
Sure, let's do it.
So I got 3 little clips here from this video. Awesome video. Link in the show notes to Moose on the Loose. Residents stunned as First Nations orders families evicted off abandoned land. Now, so do you remember that Musqueam thing came out and it highlighted like the whole Vancouver Lower Mainland and all that, right? And I'm trying to be not fear mongering with this stuff, right? I'm trying to be practical, right? Because everybody gets all in a tizzy about stuff. And
Oh yeah, it's everywhere. I was thinking about that today when it's like something's happening. It's all over my YouTube. It's coming to in my email from like 7 different people with just like the different headlines spun in a different way from 10 people on YouTube and a bunch of people that have my email address. It's like,
what was it? What was the topic?
Fill in the blank. Carney talks to Trump about this. Brrr. It's like all the way down. I mean, it's but it kind of points to more than anything is how much the Moose on the Loose and guys like this have become the mainstream media in some ways.
Yeah. Well, actually, I have a thing about the CBC and how far down it's gone.
It's like the conservative media. They've just absorbed some of these guys instead. I'm surprised Moose didn't find his way to that conservative convention.
No, Moose has been pretty good. He's been doing a lot of like deep dives and breakdowns and
He's
deconstruction.
the best of the bunch, probably, for sure.
But yeah, even with the Iran war too, it's all kinds of stuff on both sides, right? Both sides are freaking out about their own.
Everybody's an
on it.
expert on
on oil
It was
pricing. now.
It was time to. I have to pay more at the pump. So
Like I
rank
saw-
be free, I will.
Like I saw one clip today where it's like this guy's like, look, they're just going through the Strait of Hormuz. It's not even closed. They're just turning off their beacons and they're turning off all their things and they're going right through it. They show the video of all the ships in there. Maybe that's even real. I mean, it seems really crazy, but maybe he's even right.
Oh,
Who knows?
real, dude. It's just
We are totally post real. I mean, they had all this energy pricing stuff. Like it's like they had it ready to go. Boom. All of a sudden, it's like a day after. And all right. So anyways, back to the Musqueam thing. So I'm trying to say, like, what?
Anyways,
This isn't about private title, even though they say title of the Musqueam deal. It's not about private title. It's just it's still bad. Like it still shouldn't really happen the way it's happening, but they're not going to take away people's titles. But then you see this. This is what happens on Vancouver Island. Then it makes you think, well, no wonder why people are freaking out.
Start crumbling because there's no tax dollars. Is it split? Like nobody knows. That's the problem. And nobody wants to invest in a city like this where it's uncertain. Then what happens? We have other nations. We've got the Tuasin Nation here saying, well, that's actually our land. We've got Squamish Nation. We've got the Cowichan
I got to get in on this.
Totally.
Nation. And
So there's like Cowichan and these guys all, I think, overlapping.
we've got Musqueam Nation all fighting over this land now. So who gets it? The person who first had it, the last, the biggest population? This is getting ridiculous. And now what do we have today is this. We've got the Comox Nation kicking out Canadians from this mobile home park because they legally now can do it. Now, for anyone who's not from British Columbia, we're talking about on Vancouver Island up here. There's a city called Comox. It's about 100 and something thousand people right here. And this area is actually technically Courtney, Comox is two cities that merge together, and there's a First Nation band there called Comox. It's spelled with a K instead of Comox. They have 4 reserves in that area, and this is one of them where they have a mobile home park that they are evicting people now.
Quinish Mobile Home Park in the Comox Valley has been home to some for decades, some even their whole lives, but they've all just been served notice to evict. The Comox First Nation wants everyone out in less.
It's worth noting that the Indian Act is pretty clear on this. And if the federal government wanted to stop it at any time, they could pretty much just snap their fingers.
Well, even though it's on a reserve, or
Who owns the reserve land?
well, that's the government.
The federal government.
Yeah, but that's what's weird.
Not only
about this.
that, there's clauses in the fucking Indian Act for moving reserves if it's in basically the public and the government and industry's best interest. I mean, you have a hard time pulling that off today, you know?
Even if they're not treated,
Don't matter.
the Indian Act means everything.
Well,
that's
I don't know.
treated.
Where it's not treaty is where it starts to get weird, but the Indian Act is still the Indian Act, treaty or not. The Indian Act is law in Canada from coast to coast. So my take on it is that it still applies. It applies whether they're treated or not. It might get a little greasier, a little weirder, but the federal government could still stop it at any moment.
Less than 2 years.
There's no place to move our trailers to on the island. We are stuck. We put our life savings into this trailer, and now we have to leave with nothing. That is ludicrous.
Well, I'm just ludicrous. I got a kick out of that.
Can't you take the trailer with you?
No, they can't. They can't. Like, where are they going to go? Right? I mean, this is the problem. Okay,
Who owns the land?
Well, hang on a second.
Just really appalled at the First Nations for deciding to develop this land when they have a whole bunch of other big tracts of land that are in really nice locations, and they've chosen to displace all us people.
So he brings up a valid point there. We'll jump into that in a second.
There are 37 trailers here housing more than 100 people. Some still hold mortgages. One woman still owes $80,000 on this one. And at least one trailer was listed for sale before the First Nation warned in October the park's 50-year lease might not be renewed.
Okay, so here we go. Let's get into it. So who did they have the land leased from?
Yeah.
When I took possession of my property, I was not made to.
Don't tell me they had it leased from the Indians this whole time.
I think so. For 50 years. So how can you complain if you're on a 50-year lease and the lease is coming up in 2 years and they're giving
I
everybody
wonder if the realtor mentioned that. I wonder if the trailer park people mentioned that. Right? Because that land is leased to, because the way trailer parks work is you don't own any of the land, right? The mortgage is just on the trailer. You don't
rent
own
the pad or whatever, right? It's
You
like
rent
probably
the
like a
land from someone who owns all the land.
So you bring your trailer in, like you own
Yeah.
the
So now the
trailer, right?
question is, did the guy who's did he tell these people that he owned the land, or did they know what the arrangement was? They know there's a bunch of areas around Calgary that are on like 99-year leases and stuff like
Yeah.
that. It's
Yeah.
like you would look at them, it's like, well, yeah, it's cheap to buy, right? How like 2/3 of market price or half, beautiful location.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, what's the fucking time limit, man? The lease is up in like 27 years, and then what's gonna happen? The climate's not looking good for,
Yeah. For the trailer park to be there. Because in 27 years, you're going to be stuck in this fucking urbanization central, and you're going to be booted out, and it's going to become high rises. I mean, in that Calgary example.
Or just, even in any example, just the climate between Indians and the government seems to be getting worse, and then in between Indians and just people is getting stoked up by the media and everything else right now. So it's like, would you buy someplace like out here by Calgary, and assuming that lease is going to get renewed in 27 years?
Yeah. No.
What if it doesn't? What if they got plans?
That's what I mean.
Aware of any kind of lease or anything like that. And
go back a little bit, because it sounds like this guy didn't know about it.
Yeah, this guy says he didn't know about it.
Fighting to develop this land when they have a whole bunch of other big tracts of land that are in really nice locations, and they've chosen to displace all us people.
So he brings up a valid point there. We'll jump into that in a second.
There are 37 trailers here housing more than 100 people. Some still hold mortgages. One woman still owes $80,000 on this one. And at least one trailer was listed for sale before the First Nation warned in October the park's 50-year lease might not be renewed.
When I took possession of my property, I was not made aware of any kind of lease or anything like that. And I think, has anybody else heard of a lease when they took possession?
No. We came here
so all the residents are just hanging around during this filming, and he's like, anybody else heard of a lease? And everybody's like, no, I haven't heard of a lease. So somebody's been obviously delinquent on not explaining the details of all
I
that.
bet you someone made a mint load of money.
Yeah, which is probably
what kind of lease arrangement did they talk them Indians to back into 50 years ago? You know what I mean? They're probably paying pennies on the dollar for what they're charging these people.
Yeah.
Forever home. And I'm sad.
The Comox First Nation declined an on-camera interview.
Okay, I'm going to skip it forward a little bit here. 727. Let's see here.
Situation here is disgusting. So let's break this down a bit. So Comox released this. You can see March 4th, 2026. They came out with.
This is a bit about like what happened with the government and the agreements and stuff, the new agreements, which, like you're saying, the government has control over this, right?
Closing the Queenesh trailer park to address Comox First Nation member housing needs. So this just comes down to race. They get to choose based on the color of skin who gets to live there. That's what this is really coming down to. This seems highly against the law, but as we go through here, it seems that David Eby's government is the one who negotiated this. The reason this is happening.
Is it against the law though if it's their land and now their tribe is bigger and they need to put people?
Well, their tribe's not. Wait till you hear the size of their tribe.
Smaller.
Oh, it's like 300 people. I mean, it's ridiculous.
But I guess it doesn't matter in general if it's. I mean, this is a weird situation because it's not like this thing where it became their land.
I don't think. I don't think they can. He can
say their land for 50 years.
Yeah, he can't say it's about race. I don't think it's just like they own the land and they don't want to. They want to develop it. I mean, if it was another private developer,
It goes to the town. That's the land you'd want to develop, right? It's like, hey man, we got this shitty trailer park, or we could like spin up a casino or a hotel or whatever, fill in the blank.
But it's weird that it is like
it's Cena, right? Being next to Calgary and spinning up what they've spun up. They're fucking making bank over there.
Yeah. It's weird though because they're only I think 300 and something people, 24 million they got last year from the government.
Happening is because there was just a treaty agreement done by David Eby's government, and
so here's the treaty agreement.
They didn't protect Canadians from being affected by this. As we see here, Comox First Nation land code. So this dates back to 2016 when Comox First Nations put in a land code. This essentially took them off the Indian Act and put them in control of their own land. If we go down to section 4,
what do you think of that? He says it took them off the Indian Act and it put them in control of their own land. Now this is like a basically,
well, you could make a deal like that with the province or the government. That's kind of what Nunavut has done.
And wait till you hear the guys that are going around in this province making these backdoor deals with this stuff. It's fucking crazy.
Right here, the authority of the KFN to govern its own lands and resources flows from Aboriginal title and its inherent rights to self-government. By reenacting this land code, KFN is reaffirming its special responsibility to care for and respect the land water resources, which have been the obligation of members and their ancestors since time immemorial. Through this land code, Comox First Nations will in part be exercising its inherent right of self-government and provide governance of KFN lands that is accessible, stable, effective, accountable, and transparent. And if we go down further here, under lawmaking powers, it says the council may, in accordance with the land code, may make laws respecting the development, conservation, protection, management, use, and possession of or planning of KFN lands. So basically, they're able to do this now because, well, this was back in 2016. And then recently, this has happened, July 22nd, 2024. Comox First Nation.
What does 2016 got to do with the 50-year lease, though? Don't we need to go back to 1975 when this lease was signed?
Well, it doesn't have anything to do with the 50-year lease. It just has it's a new law that the band can control their land here, this land.
What, couldn't they control it already if they signed the lease, or was the lease signed with the Indians? Or was
Well, maybe the
signed
lease
with
is a government. Maybe it's a government lease then. Maybe it wasn't with the Indians. That's a good question.
And if it is
in Canada makes the conclusion of
government, how do I lease land from the government and fucking spin up a bunch of trailers? You know, can I make this deal somehow? I know in Alberta there's lease land and stuff like that, but you're not allowed to build dwellings on it. Like it's for cattle. It's agricultural lease land.
Yeah.
Treaty negotiations, chief negotiators initializing the Comox Treaty. So they'd recently just negotiated a treaty with the David Eby NDP government.
So it's like a new treaty then, really. What?
Am I frozen? It stopped working.
No, I paused it because I thought you were talking about it. So it's like a new treaty. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Government, and we see this is last updated May 2nd, 2025. So as these negotiations are coming to a close, right away, what do? They kick everyone off their land, because essentially the Comox Nation with their treaty can operate like their own country, so they don't need to prioritize Canadians. And since David Eby didn't negotiate this into the contract, it appears, I'm not a lawyer, but that's what this appears to be, they didn't protect Canadians, so they were able to just kick them off right away. They saying that the park has been there 50 years and they need to redo it, and then they're going to do it for their own people. But I mean, how does this not just become a situation about race? You're just choosing one color of skin over another to live in a certain location.
Well, I don't know if you can claim that. It's just, it doesn't really have to be about race. But let's just skip ahead here
to who the lease was signed with.
Yeah. We should find that out. I mean, it'd be nice to know that. But then this is just I'm gonna skip ahead to the process of how this is happening, and I want you to see what you think about this.
Consult with First Nations on these issues, but they didn't rule they have a duty to consult in secret. It doesn't have to be in secret.
No, I mean, taxpayers paying so many, you see $24 million. Do we not get to be consulted on all this? This is preposterous. Secret deals are being made. David Eby was the Attorney General of British Columbia back in 2019.
Eby was the Attorney General.
Okay, wait.
He's like making deals before he became premier. What?
Well, I got the thing here. It says the park started in the 1970s, originally run by a company owned by a Songhees member. That's who the landlord leaseholder was the Songhees First Nation. The mobile home pits on Songhees reserve land near Victoria, blah, blah, blah. Residents who own the mobile homes rented land, pad sites from the park, but they did not have a long-term lease. The park started in 1970s, originally run by a company owned by a member. In 2019, the Songhees First Nation took control of the park. In 2021, they gave notice to end tenancies so the land could be redeveloped. So this happened 5 years ago.
No, I don't think so.
No, it says in 2021 they gave notice.
In 2021, Canada passed the DRIPA.
So it says the park was established in the 1970s, and the Songhees First Nation took control of it in 2019. In 2019, then moved 2 years later to end tenancies of the plaintiffs who are not members of the nation.
But whatever happened like since summer last year, May last year, and
Well,
now
it says right here the ruling says the reserve is overcrowded and the First Nation wants to develop the lands for much needed housing for its members, telling plaintiffs in June 2021 that they'd have to move out in 3 years. And this article is from July 23rd, 2025. So the interesting thing about it, the most interesting thing about it is it sounds like these guys have held the lease the entire time.
Yeah. Yeah. Very interesting.
And
Under
own the
John
park.
Horgan.
And so they're the landlord. They've been the landlord the whole time. I mean, this is really this is a real bad misrepresentation by Moose here.
No, I don't think so, because it's the writings that are happening here with UNDRIP and with David Eby and the new treaty that is the problem. I don't think it's the lease.
According to this, these guys have owned that land and that trailer park for 50 years.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say at the beginning is like they had a 50-year lease.
No, they didn't have. So this was like
No. The
Indian-
people, the trailer park had a lease from the owners of 50 years, right?
No, the fucking the trailer pads were the whole setup was owned by the Indians. They're the people running this park.
No, I know, but who has a 50-year lease?
I guess the pads were a 50-year lease.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So that's what I was trying to say at the very beginning, just speculating that maybe like these guys should have known how many years are in their trailer park. Like when you buy it, you should know whether it's outright or how many years you have on the lease. But I mean, maybe they didn't disclose that to them.
Yeah, well, it happens in Calgary all the time.
But let's see. Well, I want you to keep that in mind, but then listen to this process of how this happens.
Osterous. Secret deals are being made. David Eby was the Attorney General of British Columbia back in 2019 under John Horgan, who's the guy who drafted this legislation and helped push it through Parliament. You see here, 2019, the BC NDP under the late Premier John Horgan's government passed the BC Declaration on the Rights Indigenous Peoples Act, DRIPA, which comes from the United Nations on DRIPA. At the time, BC's current Premier David Eby was Attorney General. David Eby was the one who brought this into British Columbia. Now they do secret deals and is absolutely devastating Canadians' lives. It's making business and home ownership uncertain in this province.
I mean, a good example of what's going on right now. So you had a court case last December that found that the province's mineral claims staking legislation was incompatible with the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, and therefore threw the whole thing out, right? A BC Court of Appeal. So the government...
This is a pivot away from the discussion. I mean,
no. Wait.
Government said, well, the court has misread our legislation and they've gone too far. And it was not our intention that the courts would be able to overturn provincial laws on.
So they're saying it wasn't the intention, right?
The basis of the UN declaration. The government says its intention with legislation was to set up a framework where First Nations and the province.
What does this have to do with the people that is this to me only makes sense if they just got the land in the last few years. If
you'll see what's happening. Hang on, just hang in there, because this guy's saying there was an intention where they're supposed to work together over this, not just say that all of a sudden titles are affected, right? But just wait a little bit longer.
Titles aren't affected, though. That's the difference. There's no title effect here. The trailer park people never owned any of the land. It's not like you've got your house there and you bought an acre of land and your house is on this land.
Yeah, exactly.
You're leasing.
I know, but I want you to listen to the process of how this stuff gets disseminated among the 200 tribes that are in BC.
But what's that got to do with it?
Well, that's kind of what I was saying. Is like I'm trying to dispel this fear.
Like pivoting all over the place, but we're not saying, hey man, these guys have fucking owned this land and been running this trailer park for 50 years and now they want to do something different.
Yeah. That's
like me or you should have the same thing, right?
If we that's what I said at the very beginning, right?
And had a bunch of trailer parks, you and I should, there's probably those rules involved when you have a trailer park or something like that.
Giving them 2 years notice to move.
Or it's guaranteed to be a park for this long.
I know, but
you're there chomping at the bit because your land's worth more, right? Like say me and you have the trailer parks and then they find oil underneath it or some shit. So now we know that our trailer park is worth a mint, but we're not allowed out of this lease for 5 more years.
Okay, but what if when you look at this here, there's a map here that they go over. There's a ton of other land that's undeveloped that could be used, and their band's only like 300 and something people. So I mean,
Sure, I
does-
get it.
So
I get the optics aren't great, but it's a weird situation because it's their fucking land.
yeah, yeah. Okay.
You know, I mean, not really their land because of the way the Indian Act and all that's kind of worked. It sounds like EB signed it over to them. So then what? So what the advocation would be here from Moose on the Loose then is that the federal government should have kept enough control over there. The BC government should have kept enough control over Indian land that they could kibosh stuff like this.
Yeah, that's kind of what he said. Is they needed to build those protections into the treaty or something.
So that you just got to keep doing what we say with your land.
Yeah. Well, they have
Which
to
is-
get rid of the undrip. They have to get rid of the undrip.
Yeah, probably, but this undrip doesn't even play in here as far as I'm concerned. It's sort of like the exact same thing if the Grey Eagle said we don't want to have a casino here anymore, we want to build something else. Except no one would care because it's a casino.
Yeah,
But if that was a trailer park and they were like, "Nah, we're done with this trailer park, we're going to build a casino."
Yeah.
And it just so happened that over the years this has been like
White people started building in the casino.
yeah, white people have started coming in and getting involved, and it was just like, whatever, and then fucking poof. You know, it never should have got this far.
Yeah.
Clearly, it never should have got this far. But
Okay.
this
Okay,
is a
so-
complete sidestep from the other stuff that's going on in BC.
Okay, good. Now keep that in mind, and let me know if you think there's other problems that are going to come up because of the process to bring this stuff to light.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be in secret.
No, I mean,
taxpayers paying so many, you see $24 million. Do we not get to be consulted on all this? This is preposterous. Secret deals are being made. David Eby was the Attorney General of British Columbia back in 2019 under John Horgan, who's the guy who passed the BC Declaration on the Rights Indigenous Peoples Act, DRIPA, which comes from the United Nations, UNDRIPA, at the taking business and home ownership on
compatible with the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, and therefore threw the whole thing out, right? A BC Court of Appeal. So the government said, well, the court has misread our legislation, and they've gone too far. And it was not our intention that the courts would be able to overturn provincial laws on the basis of the UN Declaration. The government says its intention with legislation was to set up a framework where First Nations and the province would together update legislation to make it compatible, and that the courts were not supposed to jump in ahead of time and say, oh, yeah, this law doesn't stand up anymore. So that's the government's position. So what they're doing is they're rewording the legislation here. It's called the Declaration Act, and it dovetails with the UN Declaration. Well, okay, so that's what they're doing, but you know what they're doing. They've hired a former deputy minister in the government. They're paying him on a contract of, I don't know, some staggering amount of money, a couple of $100,000, and he's taking these proposed amendments around to the 200 First Nations in British Columbia, and he's showing them the changes, and he's making them sign non-disclosure agreements. So the whole thing is going on in the back room again. Someday, the rest of us will be presented with the proposed wording of the changes, but what we'll see will again be another of these fait accomplis. It'll be worked out. The legislation itself was written with First Nations in consultation. The changes in the Heritage Conservation Act were done in a 2-year workshop with First Nations in consultation, in confidence. And again, I think, the public is going to go, well, where were we in all this, right? And the province says, well, we're there for you.
So,
well, it sounds like in this case, at least, the public should have been paying attention since at least 2021, for at least 5 years. No one should be stunned.
Right.
At a minimum, no one should be stunned.
So maybe this is good that it's bringing it all to light, because if this guy's going around to the 200 bands and saying like this is probably an outlier, like what's going to happen in the future is they're going to say this property is ours and these titles no longer apply. This fee simple titles no longer apply to these people. And
Yeah,
we can
maybe,
kick them
but
out, and we can kick them out. This
Well,
might just bring enough attention, even though it's like you
Still
said,
don't
it's
think that matters in this trailer park case.
no, I know. I'm just saying that maybe it's good because it brings some of this stuff to light, even though it's a bit of a, what did you call it? Like a side, like a foul ball. What did you call it? A curve ball or something?
I can't remember.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah. So I agree with you. I just think it's, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Moose
I mean,
kind of.
to find out that the Indians have owned the place, owned the trailer park the whole time, and I've been saying for the last few years that it's not looking good.
Yeah, I'm more worried that it's going to accelerate in the places where people have fee simple title.
Yeah, I guess we'll find out. Like I say, the Indian Act is pretty clear on that. I mean, we'll see if it starts to affect private property. This isn't a case like that because it's their property. They just want to change what they're doing with it.
Yeah.
All right, we
guess
better
we should-
get out of here. Get over
Yeah.
to second half of show.
Yeah, that was good.
That was good. Of course, head over to Grimerica, outlawed.ca if you want to sign up, get that second half of show. You can do that right in the Apple app, of course, as well. And on YouTube, you can sign up as a member on our YouTube channel. We haven't figured out a way for the live stream to keep going on YouTube for members yet. But what we do have is a nice 4K show that comes up later, the full length that the members on YouTube can check out. So that's another way to get the Grimerica Outlawed content now is directly through YouTube. Get it directly through Apple, get it through Spotify, get it through GrimericaOutlawed.ca. Just make sure you get it. Sign up today. Grimerica.ca for the other podcast. Contact at thecabin.com for trips and events and adultbrain.ca for all those audiobooks. You want to start us off in that second half while I see if I can shut these streams off?
Yeah. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go to the CBC. This is from the northern perspective here. They're talking about internal numbers. So their own documents reveal the scale of the problem. Views are down